You're listening to the Build Your Wealth podcast, episode number 32. So you know you need to be consistent. You know you need to show up regularly for your audience. But what in the world do you talk about? On today's show, I'm giving away my top 3 secret strategies on how you can come up with tons of fresh content and never run out of things to talk about. So stay tuned. Ugh. It's that time of day again. Time to get up and make someone else rich. Hi there and welcome to the Build Your Wealth podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Thompson. Over the years, I've taken the skills I've learned as a dedicated employee in multiple fields and turned it into a thriving 6-figure online business to create a wealth of my own. Now I'm here to teach you how to do the same thing. I share my successes and failures as an online business owner with you to help you avoid the pitfalls that can come with being an entrepreneur in the online space. It's my goal to help you achieve your success faster, adopt the right mindset for that success, and to show you how failing forward is all part of the process in building your wealth instead of someone else's. This is the Build Your Wealth podcast. Hey there, welcome to the Build Your Wealth podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Thompson. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you're having an awesome one. And if you've ever struggled with coming up with content for your social media posts, blogs, or podcasts, then you are absolutely in the right place today. Because today I'm sharing my top 3 secret strategies on how you can always have tons of fresh content at the ready to help you with the ever elusive, but ever so necessary, consistency. This is definitely something that I've struggled with in the past. When I was first starting out in social media, one of my biggest roadblocks was coming up with what to post. And it's probably one of the things I hear people struggling with the most frequently. Basically saying things like, I know I need to stay consistent, but how? I have nothing to say. One of my biggest concerns in the beginning was I felt like I was running out of content related to my business. I was super concerned that people would get bored listening to me ramble on about different aspects of running a business, dealing with the problems of a business, and who wants to hear about accounting and paperwork anyway, right? But then what do I talk about? The weather? My dog? My favorite TV shows? Well, if that's what makes you tick, then you bet your bottom that's what you're going to talk about. Your audience wants to know you, the real you, not some photoshopped, glossy, stock photo version of what you think they want to see. Think about it. If somebody's being fake to you, you can totally tell, right? The more genuine and honest you are about who you are and what you love, the more specific and, might I add, perfectly tailored to you an audience you'll be able to build. In a world of a million connections, we've never all been lonelier. People turn to social media for companionship and connections, and most often are left feeling flat. By being genuinely who you are and making true connections to your audience by being someone they can relate to on that personal level, you're providing them with a deeper connection they so desperately crave. I have to be honest here, even knowing this, I still struggled. It's not always easy to be open and put yourself out there, because people in general are judgy. Everyone has an opinion and we all want to be heard. Not all opinions are ones that we are going to want to hear, but they're going to exist regardless. So the sooner you can get over the fact that someone else's opinion of you is none of your business, the sooner you'll be off to the races. Having had the challenge of curating content myself, I was tormented by how to get past this too. It wasn't until I discovered these content curating strategies that I was able to really come up with some good, consistent content that wasn't going to put my audience to sleep. So without further ado, let's get into the nitty-gritty of all this, shall we? Content curating strategy number 1. This method was my original eye-opener. It helped me to get my head around what types of things I should be talking about, posting about, and writing about for my content. Since my biggest concern was boring my audience to tears, I didn't always want to talk about business. And it wasn't until I heard about this technique that it finally all made sense. Because one thing's for sure, I was spot on correct in thinking that just talking about my business was going to bore my audience. You might get a few listeners, viewers, and followers in the beginning, but chances are they're going to lose interest really fast when you only talk about the same thing all the time. Your fans want to know you. They want to see what it is that makes you tick. They want to know all the ins and outs of your day-to-day life, a peek behind the curtain, if you will. So when you're only showing them surface content, you're going to lose them. But the question remains, what do you talk about? Well, the answer to that is actually rather simple. You're going to talk about you. The things that you enjoy, the things that you do in life that make you who you are. And you might be thinking, that sounds like it's getting too personal. And you're right. There is a fine line between sharing interesting and entertaining content and oversharing in general. And that's going to be up to you as to how much you want to actually share. Choosing your content does not need to be a struggle. The easiest way to look at this is to picture a magazine cover. When you look at a magazine cover, chances are you see a model or a beautiful plate of food. And surrounding that photo are the highlights contained within the magazine. Those highlights are the attention getters. They're what makes you pick up that magazine and flip through the pages to find the articles that you want to read more about. Okay, now picture yourself on that magazine cover. What types of things do your highlights say? Would it say something like, my favorite spring recipes for 2019, or top 3 business tips to make your profits soar, or maybe even 6 tips to flatten your belly fast? When you start to think about your content this way, you can begin to envision the main topics that would surround your glossy photo on your very own magazine cover. Now, don't get me wrong, your life doesn't have to be an open book just because you're on social media. You can absolutely keep some of it to yourself. You want to choose just a few areas of interest to focus on and to share. Try to stick to 3 to 5 main areas of focus, and this will help you avoid being all over the place with your content too. Important side note here. This is not a chance for you to air out your dirty laundry. Social media is not your personal platform to complain, vent, and rant. When you start doing that, you're going to lose your followers in a hurry. People turn to social media to be entertained, not enraged or depressed. You don't have to be a tell-all open book, but keep in mind you will need to be willing to be open to some extent, because being yourself is what makes the real connection with your audience. Content curating strategy number 2. Another way I love to come up with new topic ideas for my posts is by listening to other podcasts. I love to listen to other podcasts that are in line with what I typically talk about in my posts. It helps keep me current and it gets me out of my own head. It's easy to feel like you're just spinning out the same information over and over again, revamping the same old thing that everybody has already talked about. But what's important to keep in mind is that there's basically no new content out there. There's only new perspectives on the same ideas that have existed for years. By listening to someone else's point of view, it can make you view a topic in a totally different way than you may have looked at it in the past. By seeing it through someone else's lens, you can get a totally different take on whatever the topic may be. And that leads me to my content curating tip number 3. Check out current blog posts in your genre. Now that is basically the same take I use with utilizing podcasts for content ideas. This is just the written form. Reading articles, blog posts, and other social media posts that are currently hot topic gives you a double advantage. Not only is it providing you with fresh content ideas, but it's also providing you with current content ideas. Things that are currently popular in social media will already be something your audience is searching for, making your next creation a hot commodity. Now, for those of you concerned with plagiarism or copying someone else's work, this is not what I'm telling you to do. Use the content you've curated as a means for inspiration. Take the content they've provided and run it through your own lens. Put your perspective on it, make it your own, and send it out into the universe as something that only you could have created. Lack of content really isn't a thing at all. That's just an easy excuse. You're a living, breathing human being with amazing experiences, talents, and viewpoints to share with the world. They're yours and only yours, because no one will ever see the world exactly as you see it. So if you think you have nothing special to offer, think again, my friend, because you are what makes what you have to offer special. So go show them what you've got. Thank you so much for joining me today here on the Build Your Wealth podcast. I hope you have a fabulous day, and I hope to see you back here next week. I'll talk to you then. You've been listening to the Build Your Wealth podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Make sure you don't miss an episode by subscribing to the show. I've included any links to specifics mentioned in the show notes section below, so you can easily grab them there. I hope you'll consider leaving a review for me and let me know what you thought about the show. And if it helped you or resonated with you in some way, I'd love to hear about that too. Thanks again, and I'll see you over on the next episode. To your success.